My mom met a strange man on the internet. She hid it from us and her husband. Until one day, I guess she could not hold on to the secret anymore, and well, tragedy struck. I do not even know where to start with this. The fact that I thought I knew my mom and I did not. Also, that my parents were not really as happy in their marriage as I assumed. I wish I did not have to find out about stuff like this, and that my sister and I did not have to go through the most of this stuff, but unfortunately, my mom has ruined our lives and I really hate her. It started a couple days after my 16th birthday, when my dad was working most days, and mom was the one who was home most of the time. My mom would not get off of her phone, ever. She would also spend hours locked in her room and give us money to buy pizza for dinner if we complained. It's not my place to question my mother, so I just went along with it. For the first couple of days, it was kind of fun to not have my mom always on my case. My sis and I could do what we wanted, and most of the times when we asked her for cash, she would just give it to us quietly. I did not suspect anything was going on. I mean, I have better things to do than pay attention to my mother's strange actions. That was until one night. Once again, we were given money to order food online, but my mother's card was refusing to put the transaction through. My sister, Miriam, 14 years old, and I ended up fighting over who was going to go and ask her for another card. These days, she went straight to her room after work and did not talk to us. Dad is always on business trips or working late. But he does get off days every week, so at least we get some time with him. Anyways, my sister and I fought over who would disturb her because she could get very angry if we interrupted her. None of us knew what she was doing in there. She just said she was busy with work. So I ended up losing because my sister is a brat, and I have to do everything. But she ended up following me because I think she wanted to see Mom shout at me. I was about to knock on the door when I saw the door was slightly ajar, so I decided just to open it. Nothing could have prepared me for what me and my sister saw when we opened the door. It is very weird to even talk about it because she's my mother. But how she was behaving was not showing that she was my mom at all. She was wearing clothes I've never seen her wear before. With makeup, I've only seen her wear makeup on a very few occasions. And talking to someone via video call on her iPad. I could see her side view and could not clearly see the person she was having a convo with. As for the conversation, well, it was pretty uncomfortable. And I wish I could unlisten with my ears. I know it was wrong for us to listen to the conversation, but we were curious. We wanted to know why our mom was always in her room and why she was acting so strange. From the way she was talking, I quickly realized that she was talking to my father, using words like honey, babe, etc. This was new because my parents never used such words, and I was trying so hard not to die of laughter and embarrassment. It is just weird to think of my parents being romantic with each other like, yuck. But then, when we were about to leave, my dad responded, but I realized that was not my father. It was a man who I could not see. That could not be my dad's voice. I looked at my sister, who was also looking at me with some expression of, quote, what the hell's going on? I quickly closed the door when this man asked my mom a very intimate question. Both my sis and I were equally embarrassed and shocked. As her older brother, I would have rather she did not have to see her mother in that position. The person my mother was talking to did not also sound like Dad, which made everything even worse. I was very confused and disappointed in my mom if what I suspected was to be the truth. But my sister told me that Mom would never do that and that maybe it was Dad. I did not know what to do because if it was Dad and we confronted our parents about it, it was going to be very awkward and I was scared that we were going to get in trouble. She did not even notice us at the door. She had continued with the call, and now that we're paying attention occasionally, we could hear laughter. I told Miriam that I was going to call Dad, and if he did not answer, then maybe we were wrong. I told her to stay in her room because she had seen and heard enough, then I went to close my mom's room again.
Only this time, it was just close enough for me to hear that she was still talking to this man, but not to see anything. As quickly as I could, I called my dad's work phone, the one he gave us for emergencies. It rang for a while, but those were very long few seconds. I hoped that my dad would not answer, and I was wrong about what I was thinking. It was better for me to feel shame than have to experience my mom cheating, but unfortunately, or I don't know if it's fortune, that my father answered the phone. He sounded very irritated, telling me that he was at work and I had called him out of a meeting, so it better be good. I made up some stupid excuse, asking him a question, and he got annoyed. Then he told me not to call again. He was going to be home in an hour. The man who was talking to my mom kept on talking throughout the call, which proved that it could not be my father. I had an hour to make a choice, or for my sis and I to agree on what to do because we were both very traumatized by what we saw and heard. I will die happy if I never have to go through that again. It was terrible. That was when I first started to notice the cracks that were forming in my parents' marriage. All along, we were in a happy family. Neither of them cheated from all I know. My dad was working very hard to take care of us and making sure we had everything that we could even need. We needed, but Mom, my sweet mom, was not so sweet after all. My sister and I argued about it for most of the time before our father came home, because, well, we did not know what to say or how my father was going to react. But in the end, we decided to tell Dad all that we saw and heard as soon as he came back. Luckily, it was not a school night, otherwise we would have been forced to go to bed already. While we waited, I heated the leftovers from the night before because I could not face my mom anymore. I did see her once and she was acting normal, wearing her usual clothes, but I could not unsee it and I just wanted to run away from her. When my dad came, he talked to my mom for a bit before he said he was going to bed, but I stopped him and asked if he could talk in private about something important. Dad agreed and we went to my room, where I explained to him everything that I saw and also told him why I called him earlier. My dad did not change his face when I was telling him, which was scary because I thought that now I was in trouble. He called my sister and asked her a few questions, which she gave the exact same answers to as mine. Then he thanked us and left. My sister and I both went to bed, but right as I was starting to fall asleep, I heard shouting from my parents' room. It was so scary, and I felt so guilty for telling my dad what I did, because now he was mad at Mom and they were fighting. My little sister ended up coming to my room crying as she told me that Dad was very angry and throwing stuff. I did what I could to comfort her, but I was also scared. Eventually, she fell asleep, but I simply could not, especially when his voice grew louder and I could hear what they were saying. My dad asked how she could expose us to her nastiness like that. He also asked her multiple times who the man was and why she was doing this to my father. My mom shocked me with her response because she was not even ashamed. She told him that his kids should not have been snooping around grown people's business. She also said that the man he was talking about was someone she loved. What? How could she love another person besides my father? I just wanted to wake up from this horrible nightmare. It could not be my mother saying all these horrible things to my dad who loved her so much. I left my sister sleeping, then I went outside. I do not know what I wanted to do, but I could not stay in there a second longer. My father had tears in his eyes as my mother insulted him. She was so angry, looking like she was going to break anything that she saw. She told him that she did not love him anymore, and he was not man enough for her. She said he was a pathetic man who did not appreciate her for her beauty, but that Richard loved her and kept her young. What hurt me the most was that she said we kids were ruining her life and she wanted to be free as a bird. I hate myself to this day, and even though everyone says it's not my fault, I think that maybe if my sister and I were just a bit quieter and did not bother Mom so much, she would not feel so trapped. I felt that Mom just simply did not love us, and the things that happened next showed that she did not love us at all. I started crying as soon as she said that, which brought attention of my father, who started apologizing to me. My mother just stood there and glared at us with crossed arms. She asked me why I was crying. 16-year-old boys don't cry, especially when they're snitches. That made me feel even worse. But as I listened to what she was saying about me and my sister, I got angry. I got very angry. I told her I hated her and that she was not my mother. If you were wondering if I ended up regretting those words, I do not. Why do I even keep referring to her as my mom? I think it's just a bad habit that I can't get rid of months later. It is Clara. The woman who gave birth to me is named Clara. She's not my mother. I told Clara that I hate her for what she did to my dad, and I'm disgusted by her behavior. I also called her a really bad word, but only because I was so angry and emotional. But when I did that, my father told me to shut up and go to my room. So, I went to my room, put on my headphones and listened to music, Beethoven, until I fell asleep. When I woke up, Clara was gone and my dad was home for the first time. He was also drinking alcohol early in the morning. I asked him where she was and he told me that she left our house last night. He did not give me any more information after that, but I could see that my father was heartbroken. For a few days, things at home were bad and people were starting to notice that she was not home. I instructed my sister not to say anything. I just had a feeling that we should not tell people what happened. A few days after I last saw her, my dad finally sat me down and told me what happened. This is what I like about my dad. He never lies. He tells it like it is because he understands that I'm no longer a baby. My father told me that he found out most of this through digging and my mother's so-called best friend, who appeared to have known about everything. First of all, the biggest shock I had was when my dad told me that my mom had a TikTok account. I later went to look for it, and let me tell you, I was shocked that I never came across any of her videos. But what way can I use to describe some of the videos that Clara posted? They're cringy. What would make her want to join TikTok is something that I don't know. The videos were pretty innocent and did not get many views, but there was a video where this man commented and said she was beautiful. I went to his account, which was private, but guess what his name was? It was Richard. The rest of the story goes like this. According to Clara's friend, my father is the only one who told me though. So, Clara was posting TikToks when this young man commented on her videos. He started to interact on many of her posts and eventually landed in her DMs. They got to talking and eventually the relationship developed. But what was even worse was this man was 35 years old. It was madness. He was a decade younger than her, and he knew that she was married. Not only that, but he lives right in our freaking town. He was basically a stranger that she met on the internet. How could she do that? As soon as I heard about that, I got stressed as heck. This was the woman who used to preach to me about talking to strangers online, yet here she was having an affair with one. There's many things that I did not know about my parents' marriage. Maybe they were really unhappy, but I could not help feeling betrayed. Everyone at home was so disappointed, and my father was not taking it so well. I could see that he was trying not to be emotional when he was telling me what happened, but he was heartbroken. She only came once to our house, and it was to take her stuff. She tried talking to me, but I told her to leave me alone. I'm still very angry with her. How could she just do this to us? I saw that man waiting for her in the car, and I did not like him. He gives me some very creepy and bad vibes, like those strangers that were told not to give candy from. And she threw us away as if we were nothing for a stranger. She only known for a few months. Mother of the year, I guess. The result of all this is that Clara sent divorce papers to my dad several days later. She claims to be so in love with this man and wants to get married to him ASAP. But my dad does not want to give her a divorce. I do not know why, and he'll not give me a direct answer, but those papers are still in the same place till today. People are starting to realize what's happening, and they're just talking about our family. My sister is not doing well because of that, and things people are saying about our family. I just want Dad to divorce her, then she can buzz off and live with that man. I'll never forgive Clara for what she's done.
I think the hardest part about this story is the fact that OP was a 16-year-old child. So, when she saw this that her mother did, she probably thought it was her fault that now her father and mother are getting divorced, and I can't imagine the pain that could have caused OP. Guys, let me know what you thought about this story. Maybe drop a little bit of your opinions or advice onto what you would say to OP if you were in her shoes at such a young age. And the next story we'll look at is the final story of the video. Am I the a-hole for changing my adoptive son's name and telling off his birth family? If you're not subscribed to the channel, take a second, click that subscribe button. Also, in the description below, you'll find my 2 other channels that have uploaded daily videos as well. Mr. Reddito Stories and Mr. Reddito Office Dramas. Check those out in the description below, and here's story number 2. My husband and I took in his cousin Sue's newborn due to her and her partner John's addiction issues. It's not a decision I regret. This beautiful boy is the light of my life, but it was a major life change for us. Especially me, as I was the one who gave up my job and my social life to be basically locked up isolated during COVID with a baby. It was supposed to be temporary while they went to rehab. Well, they never went to rehab nor complied with any of the safety plans set up for CPS. From 2 months on, they have not seen the baby nor supported him in any way. John's family has not been involved either, as they also refuse to abide by the safety plan or any of the CPS recommendations. Now, 2 years later, my husband and I have full legal custody, and CPS has closed the file. We've put forth a petition to change the baby's name. At birth, John and Sue named the boy Steven to honor John's brother who died of an overdose, while partying with John and Sue, who was pregnant and getting high. My husband and I have never referred to the baby by that name. We always called him Davy, which is his middle name, after Sue and my husband's grandfather. So instead of being Stephen David Jones, we're changing it to David Owen Smith. Owen is after my father, who absolutely adores him and accepted him as a grandson from day one. So, here's why I might have ventured to be the a-hole. My husband thinks I went too far, but I feel they pushed me to the end. John's family found out and blew up my social media and messenger. Not husband's, no, just mine, telling me that I have no right to change the name or honor my father because I'm nothing more than a babysitter. I'm not the real mother. I was called a baby thief amongst more vile accusations, so I snapped. I responded back that my son's name will honor good men, that he could proudly emulate, not like their junky relatives, who was a shit stain on the world, defrauding the government for benefits and stealing from anyone he could, and contributed nothing to life of society. And, well, his only accomplishment is that he OD'd before he went to prison. Harsh, yeah, but I still don't feel like the a-hole. Alright, so let's check out this comment. Not the a-hole. He's your baby legally, physically, emotionally, always aside from DNA. There's no babysitting. He's never going back to them. Never. You are a mom, period. Block them. Ignore them. If you can move away from the area, do it. They'll eventually give up, but it'll take an annoying amount of time. Guys, unfortunately, I have to agree with this advice, and I think just blocking them and running away might be the only solution here. Let me know your thoughts on this, how you would go about this problem, and what you would do if you would do something different. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have an amazing day. Try something new in life that you thought you could never do. You might be surprised.